we go for the general objective. No? The general objective is to bring our students into the knowledge of the Catholic faith. So that's the general objective. And then eventually, in every real subject, there are corresponding and specific objectives also, akin to the subject itself.
So, in general po, sir, lahat po yun, magkakoconnect din po sila?
Yeah, actually developmental siya. That's why, if you notice, you cannot take one for two unless you take one for one because these are developmental curriculum or curricula. Devise the curriculum, but ultimately it's the academic council. It will be forwarded to the dean will forward it to the academic council, and the academic council will approve it. Although, technically, once it has been approved by the department, normally the academic council will say yes to it. Because at the end of the day, those who have expertise as far as the curriculum is concerned are the members of the department.
Sir, ano po?
Plus, remember, we are deregulated. When we submit it to CHED, they just say okay. They don't scrutinize it anymore because we're level 4 accreditation.
In terms of ano, sir, yung pagbili ng mga books, kasi di ba meron po pinapabili ng 141, 142, and so on, sir. Pinagpaplanuhan niyo rin po yun, sir, kung ano yung appropriate book for that?
Usually, and ideally, each real subject should have its own textbook to be bought by the students and used inside the classroom. Unfortunately, we only have actually 3 when the real subjects were still 18 units. They had 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and 106. The available books were Real 104, 105, and 106. They tried to write the book for Real 103, which is Ecclesiology Church, but because of the reduction of the number of units for Real subjects from 18 units to 12 units, what happened was the Real 101 then becomes now Real 141, and there was no available book yet. But you were given, I think, handouts. And then the Real 142 is a combination of Real 103 and 104. 103 is Ecclesiology Church, and 104 was Sacraments. So now in 142 you have Church and Sacraments. And 105, Christian Morality, becomes the 143. And 106, Spirituality of Social Transformation. Before it was Social Teachings of the Church. Now in 1044 they call it Spirituality of Social Transformation. But basically everything contained on it are the same. When we crafted the curriculum, we benchmarked with other schools, Catholic schools offering the same program. And then from there, we deliberated what can we also offer, again, in view of the clientele. Because you have to understand that at the end of the day, what you should be given premium so much would be your clientele. Sino yung tatanggap ng curriculum, yung mga estudyante. Itong certificate in teaching religious education or teaching values education is crafted basically to address the need of experts in the province. Why? There are some private schools whose specialization, for example, or major is math, but because there was nobody to teach values education, they were assigned by the head teacher to teach values education. So this answers that problem. And secondly, it answers a call. A call on what? The mandate. In Matthew 28:19 to 20, Jesus says, "Go therefore to all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all that I have commanded thee. Lo and behold, I shall be with you till the end of time. Now, as a Catholic institution, the Lasal dos Marinas has the moral obligation to the Church to propagate the faith. And we would like to equip those teachers in other schools who will be teaching values education or Christian living by offering this certificate in values education. Actually, we have a program for the BSE to have major in values education. Unfortunately, the program has been shelved because it needs to have at least 20 students who will be taking the program as their major. But if I may add, we propose this, the certificate in teaching values education, to the graduate school to do crediting. I think a total of 12 units will be credited if they proceed to master's degree. And they will be paying only while taking the certificate in values education undergrad fee, equivalent to undergrad units of the PFD. And we know that when you take your graduate school, the per hour there is much higher than what is offered in the undergrad programs of PFD. So edge din to dun sa mga kukuha ng certificate when they take Masters in Values Education sa graduate school. I think so. The implementation was successful. In fact, there was a research done by, it was a collaborative research done by Dr. Alcartado, Dr. Susan Mustajo, Dr. BBM Ligaspi, Dr. Manuel Camarce, where they try to assess the success of the church involvement within the REED 142 subject. So what they did, they come up with a survey form questionnaires where the REED 142 teachers distributed them to their classes, have the students answer them, and then they did not stop from that. After collecting the data of the answered survey form, they even went to the different parishes where the students have been rendering services. They interviewed those people, and then they interviewed some of the REED 142 faculty members, and then they study the data available and then come up with conclusion and recommendation. And based on what we've heard, because it was presented in one of the research presentations here in De La Salle Dasma by Dr. Alcartado and the rest of his teammates in that research, it was a very successful program. At least when we say it was successful, it's not only based on how we perceive them, but there's a research done to assess its success. Research-based siya, scholarly research done by, actually they were from different field of specialization. Dr. Mustafa from behavioral, I think. Dr. Alcartado is from the REED. And then Dr. Legaspi and Dr. Comarsi from PFT. Multidisciplinary research actually.